They use a lot of imagery of cartoon lemons in the graphics, in the advertising, in the packaging to show how compact it is. Probably good for backpacking. So I wanted to compare it to a real lemon, which I have a few of. And yeah, it's pretty small. I mean, maybe a big lemon, but it's pretty close. That wouldn't take up much room in a pack. So we've seen the size is pretty compact, and sometimes when you're backpacking, the weight really matters too. So let's see. Looks like it's just under 4 ounces. So it's pretty light in your pack. I don't think you'll really feel that if you're carrying it. Little storage bag is pretty good quality. Kind of feels like a windbreaker kind of fabric, or a tent or something. Looks like you won't lose the bag. It is sewn to the pillow itself. I've never really seen a valve quite like this, so I'm just gonna try blowing into it. Yeah, that was pretty fast, pretty easy. Now that I have it aired up and full, I can feel that it has a bladder inside, and then the cover is separate from it. So it kind of just feels like a pillowcase on a pillow. And trying to figure this valve out more, I read the instructions and it says that you can deflate it either by pushing the button in, or you can push and twist it. And that will kind of lock the valve open. And they said to align it, and if you look real closely, you can see the rim is shiny right here and kind of rougher here. And so when it's in the shiny part, that's locked, and then you push it down and it will stay unlocked. You squeeze all the air out. I was curious what if you can wash it, if it's machine washable or what. Here are the washing instructions. It surprised me because it says wash only the fabric cover, which made me realize that the bladder comes out. It says take out the inner bladder. Hand wash only, so it doesn't go in the machine, but you can wash it. Cold water only. So I was looking around at it, and sure enough, you have to deflate it to get the bladder out. And then there's an opening sort of where the storage bag attaches on the bottom, where you can get at the bladder inside. And it's this kind of translucent plastic, and then where the valve is, that pops through like that. All right, so the bladder is loose inside now. I should be able to pull it out. So there's the inner bladder, and it comes out with the valve attached. And then you can wash the cover, and the bag stays attached separately in a sink or whatever by hand. Here's the inner bladder. It's maybe not quite as sturdy as, say, an aero bed. It's built kind of like a pool float, I suppose. Probably a little thinner. There you can get a sense of the thickness. And it's just heat welded together in a rectangle there. So I'll put that in and sleep on it overnight and tell you how it feels. All right, it's the next day, and I slept on it last night to be sure I'd be able to fall asleep before taking it out on a camping trip, and it was pretty good. It does feel like an air pillow, the way if you roll your head to the left, you're going to feel a bump pop up on the right. You know, there's sort of a finite amount of air in there that's always going to move around and find a place to be. So it does feel like an air mattress or an air pillow, but it has this really good contouring. So it's a comfortable shape. And if you stay still, you can forget that it's an air pillow, and it actually feels pretty nice. You only know that it's an air pillow when you move. And you can use it on both sides because it's contoured symmetrically. You don't feel the valve on your head because it's off to the side. The pillowcase is more comfortable on the green side than the gray side, but you can flip it over if you want a cool side. And it's the same contour of the pillow on the inside. Feels exactly the same, just you get a little less padding. The padding is only on the green side. See, the gray is just this real thin fabric. The green side is where the X foam is. You can see, here's the quarter. It's a little bit, there may be overselling the X foam. And it seems like they might be a little confused too, because here on the package they call it X form. So the foam isn't as thick as maybe I'd like it to be, but then that's a sacrifice to be able to get it to be this small, that's a really good size in your pack. So it has a little bit of foam, not enough to make it not feel like an air pillow, but it does make it a little more comfortable. As for storing it, they recommend storing it long term, just kind of flat and not in the stuff sack. That's pretty typical of a lot of camping stuff, like sleeping bags and the foam air mattresses. And that kind of keeps it from, when you fold it up and put it in that stuff sack, the bladder's going to have a lot of corners in there. And those can be stress points that might fail prematurely if you keep it always stuffed real tightly. But if you store it flat, it'll last longer. A lot of people keep them under their bed with their sleeping bags, that kind of stuff. That's a real good place to store sleeping bags, unless you have cats, and then they tend to like to chew on these valves, dogs. And the way you want to store it is probably with the valve open. And because you've blown into it, there's a lot of moisture and funk from your breath that could just go a little funky if it's closed up and damp. So just leave the valve open. You just push it in and turn it until it kind of stays down like that. And that way the air can get in and out, and the bladder's not creased, and that'll store really well like that. But then to get it in the stuff sack, it just folds right back into the bag that's attached to it, so you're never going to lose it. I've found that folding it in thirds works really well, long ways. And then starting with the valve, be sure you get all the air out. Fold that in thirds again. And that's about the shape you want it to be to go into the stuff sack, and then just turn the stuff sack inside out over it. I don't think I got all the air out, so it's fighting with me a little bit. There we go. And there it is. Now you're ready to go on your trip. It's pretty comfortable. I don't think it'll last for years and years and years, but I think it'll be pretty comfortable for at least a few trips.